Another component of P&ID is the ability to validate the drawing. It does have some built-in mechanisms to validate drawings. So one way we can manually validate this is we can go into our Home tab and the Validate panel, and you do have a tool that will run validation. Now, if you run the validation here, that's going to run a validation on your project, so be willing to wait and let it go through and validate all these sheets. But we can also go to the one sheet that we're working on. And if you give it a right click there, you can validate this one sheet. Now, what's going to happen is whenever you do validate a sheet, it's going to go through the sheet. And what will it be looking for? Well, let's take a quick look here. And one of the things that it's looking for is it's going to be looking for size mismatches. It's going to be looking for mismatches within the spec, any lines that are non-terminating, connections that are unconnected. You may have a conflict in a flow direction, annotations that have become orphaned, or maybe any unresolved off-page connectors. So as it goes through here, it's going to look for these errors. And if you notice within this sheet right here, let's go ahead and maybe see if we can open this up a bit. And you'll see that it has actually found some errors in the validation. Now up here, we can revalidate and we can configure the validation settings, but we can also see these errors right here. Now, if I click on that, it's going to automatically zoom me to the section where this error is. And if I move to that one, it's also going to click in there and it's going to zoom to it. Now, if I'm like, well, I was expecting that and I knew that was going to happen, that's not really an issue at the time, we can right click on that and we can ignore those errors. So that's one of the things that you can do with the validation. So that's all you have to do. Now, if you want to go ahead and revalidate like we mentioned earlier, let's go ahead and do a revalidate, and it'll just go through that process again. Now, if you want to take a look at the validation summary, that'll also pick what things that you're going to be looking for when you do a validation. So right here, if you don't want size mismatches to come up, you can uncheck that. Or if you know that there's going to be an unresolved page connection, you can go ahead and uncheck that as well. So you can decide exactly what you want to do whenever you do your validation. So validation can be a very helpful thing when looking for anything that you may have overlooked when doing your plant project.